Holy City Center Radio. It is episode number 41, and I am your host, Christian Sanger. Thank you so much for coming back for another week. Happy to be with you all again. We had the week off last week and excited to be back here. Today's guest is Regina Duggins, a CCSD reading interventionist employee working closely with the Special Education Department of Military Magnet Academy. She is also a District 20 constituent school board member, founder of a girls mentoring program called Black Magic Girls, as well as the founder of Charleston Black Pride, an LGBTQI plus organization for people of color. Incredibly, she's also a self-published author and poet. So what a story. I'm so excited to talk with her, and I know you all will be very excited to hear what she has to say as well. First, quick update, just what I've been doing. I had some fun the last, couple weeks after Food and Wine. I've been trying to get out here and do some more things. I got to a concert, which was pretty fun back on the 15th. Jimmy Eat World and Dashboard Confessional at the North Charleston Performing Arts Center. It was so great to hear two bands that I've been listening to for, decades at this point. And just kind of, most of the sets were older songs, their most popular stuff from their heyday. So it was exciting to kind of, hear these tunes live for the first time in a long time, and also the memories that they bring up as well. So just had a blast, and I lucked into some pretty good seats and got some good photos and videos, which was good as well. Music's always important to people, but, high school, college, and, a little ways after, sometimes songs they just feel differently when you hear them because you just associate them with people and times and places. And yeah, it brought me back to that time period in my life, and it was nice reminiscing. In addition to that, I stopped by this place on Kiowa called Showroom. Briefly, I didn't have a lot of time, unfortunately. I went and saw them about a year ago when they first opened. They invited me out to check it out. It's just a women's clothing store, kind of upscale. They have a lot of collections that are specific to their store. Designers will make things that are only available in these stores, and the owner, Erica Hanks, was super nice to me a year ago when I came in. I'm like, I don't know anything about fashion, but I'm here to see what you're all about and whatnot. And she was great, and the folks that she had working for her were great. So they invited me back out just about a year after they opened for another event. They had another collection that was specific to their store. And again, I'm like, look, I'm happy to tell people what's going on, but I can't write a really in-depth review or anything. Fashion's not my thing. And they were like, no, it's totally fine. We're happy to have you out. So I appreciated being able to go out and do that again, something that's outside of my comfort zone and purview, as far as the fashion world is concerned, but still fun to know everything that's going on in Charleston. And they plan on holding like an official 1-year party in May. They're planning an event. Details are, they're still working them out, so I can't talk about them, but they sound like it should be a lot of fun. A community event out in Freshfields Village where the shop is. So that's a couple of the things that I've been doing over the last few weeks. The other story I'll tell quickly is, this is the most Monday thing that's ever happened that I could think of in a while. But I was sound asleep in my bed, just all snug and cozy, and heard a very loud crash. I flew out of my bed, basically, like, what the heck was that? I thought someone maybe was breaking in because I heard like glass smashing. It was just a big crash. I had no idea what it could possibly be. My cat was in the bed with me, so I know he didn't do it because he's normally the number one culprit for all random noises, especially at night, and troublemaking. And yes, this was like at 4 a.m. on Monday. I got to be up in a few hours for work, and I'm just like, what the heck just happened? My alarm wasn't going off, so I was like, okay, doesn't seem like someone broke in then. What the heck was that? And so I live in a condo complex, and was like, oh, maybe it was someone next door or something. So I very slowly go downstairs because I'm oh so brave, and look around the corner. Don't really see anything. It's hard to see. It's dark. Turn on the lights. I can tell there's something in my kitchen, like on the ground. So I'm like, oh, okay, something fell. Well, yeah, something did fall. My entire cabinet, one section of it just completely came off the wall. No idea why or what happened. And of course, it's the cabinet with by far the most glass products that I have, drinking glasses and cups and bowls and you name it. The majority of it is in that one, of course. And yeah, glass all over the floor, broken glass inside the cabinet, which is now on the floor. So a very cranky wake up, to say the least. So I just said, forget this. I'm going back to bed after I made sure there was nothing nothing immediate that needed to be looked into, like nothing was torn off the wall. There's nothing going on with the faucet that's nearby. And I was like, nope, I'm going back to bed. And so went to bed for a little bit longer, not much longer. As I had to get ready for work, came down, tidied up a little, and just made sure the kitty couldn't get in that area and hurt his little paws. So got to work and had to record this podcast as scheduled. And I'm just staring in the kitchen, realizing that the longer I talk, the longer I can prolong having to clean up all that glass, because I really don't feel like doing it, and seeing how much stuff is broken. But, things could be worse. But yeah, that was the most Mondayest thing that's ever happened. And when you hear this on Monday, the 28th, hopefully your Monday is going much better. But if you need to pick me up like I do, this interview will definitely do it. My guest is incredible. I ran down some of her accomplishments up at the top of the episode and the things that she's doing in town, but she provides a lot of background on that, as well as touches on some really tragic things that happened in her childhood that really molded her into the woman she's become, and what she's passionate about, and why she is so dedicated to helping people, especially underserved or underrepresented communities, people that are typically marginalized. You'll understand a lot of why she does the things she does. And it's such an incredible story. So without further ado, let's get right into the interview right now with my guest, Regina Duggins. Joining me now is my guest, Regina Duggins. Before we started this interview, I went down all of her accolades and things that she is involved with, and it is incredible. And I can't wait to speak with her. Regina, thank you so much for joining me on Holy City Center Radio.
Thank you for having me, and I am grateful to be a part of Holy City Radio today.
You're welcome. And yeah, excited to hear so much about your background. At the top of the show, I kind of listed the things that you're involved with right now. We'll get to those. But if you could, tell the folks a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what brought you to Charleston.
Sure. Well, my name is Regina Duggins, also known as Gina Mocha. I'm originally from Coney Island, Brooklyn, New York, born and raised. My family hails from St. George, South Carolina. So about when I was a teen, my sister and I always said that we wanted to bring my mom back because she spent 50 years in New York City, and we wanted to bring her back home to be around her siblings. So in 2010, I kind of followed my sister's dream of us bringing mom back home. But my sister passed in 2008, so I kept it still going to come back home. So 2010, I moved my family and I down here to Charleston, South Carolina. Even though my mom was born and raised in St. George, South Carolina, she wanted to come still with a more city life. So Charleston has become our home, and I've been here going on 12 years, and I love it here. So the historical aspect is what also attracted me to Charleston. Growing up, I always, was involved in community work. Some of it started in STEM because I am a 2-time rape survivor of child molestation. And I just felt that when I was the last time I was raped, I was about 12. And after that, I wanted to save the girls within my building and in the community. So my mom allowed me to start a dance group called New York Styles within her living room. And, we would do block parties. We would do just special events, holiday parties and events so they could showcase their talent. And it kept me busy, and I started to speak out about issues at a young age. By 16, I became the youth president of my tennis association, and that grew me more to want to get to where I started, moving and growing into the education field. I always wanted to teach, then be into community. So I continued that same journey when I came here to Charleston, South Carolina, and started, organizations and working on different community boards and so on and so forth.
Thank you so much for sharing that part, your background and how you got to Charleston. And, I'm sorry for some of the tragedies and horrible things that you went through. And I appreciate you, sharing that and trusting us to share your story today. And it's incredible. No one would fault you if after, going through something like that, you might shut down and not, need certain help or not really be, motivated by that. And it seems like you took something that was bad, decided to turn it into something good and get involved with whether it's philanthropy or helping out other people, where you said, you were young, you created a dance group with your friends to try to have a safe place. And that's pretty incredible that you, even at a young age, you took something, some circumstances that are pretty horrific and tried to turn it into something positive.
Yes. And thank you. And yeah, that was like my main goal. I wanted to be, I had adults that were around me that motivated me, and some might have known some of the traumas that I endured, some didn't, but um, I guess they saw that I was more mature than some that was my age, so they pushed me into going to political meetings, into going into town halls, church functions, speak outs, tenants association meetings, speaking about issues within the community, within my building, within my own apartment. And I kind of took a great interest in it, and I felt that, youth, and I still say that today, they should have a voice and they should speak out, and they do have concerns because they are a part of our world and things that's going on, and they have their own concerns and issues. And I was glad to have at an early age that platform.
Yeah, for sure. It all depends on ages and things, of course, but they are a community that's overlooked. They're kids, so a lot of times people just kind of shrug them off and they don't know what they're talking about and stuff. So it's always nice when adults recognize the benefits of letting them have their voices heard and mentoring them and things. And it seems like that was the path you were on. You ended up getting an associate's in child studies and a dual bachelor's degree in program administration and early childhood education, then a master's of science degree in special education and a doctoral degree in program administration with an emphasis in K-12 learning. That is a lot of schooling, and which has led you to continue your work with children, of course. So, I mentioned to the folks listening that you work for the Charleston County School District as a reading interventionist, specifically working pretty closely with special ed, the special ed department at Military Magnet Academy. Is that, when you were going through all that schooling and getting ready for your career after you were done with college, was that where you were kind of looking at, was working in the special education field, or was it just, it didn't really matter, it was just helping children in any way, shape, or form?
Yes, I continued my master's program um, here in Charleston. I actually started when I came here. So for the first 7, 8 years, I was actually in master's going into doctoral, um, which motivated me because I have custody of my nephew, and I've had him since he was 9, and he's 26 years old now. He's autistic, nonverbal,
Mm-hmm.
and being an advocate for him inspired me to go back for my master's in special education, as well as to fight and speak up and be the voice for those people that, in special needs um, arena or world, to know that there's someone that has actually been on the family side, parent side, and now being the teacher and educator to be able to advocate for more students. So that's what really drew me to special education. I just felt that that group was overlooked
Mm.
and underrepresented and needed strong advocacy in that area. And I felt that I kind of, worked well with those students, those individuals. And I knew that I had, I can help them to grow. And so that's why I went into that field.
I'm already noticing a theme based on, you speaking and also just from my notes from the background of looking into the work you've done. Underserved or overlooked communities or vulnerable populations seem to be very important to you, and being their voice and standing up for them.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
I think that comes through pretty clearly, and that's admirable work. And we've only just started scratching the surface. But before we dive into some of the other stuff that you do, getting
Yes.
back to your work with the special education department at Military Magnet, what exactly, for those who don't know, and I think I have an idea, but what exactly is a reading interventionist?
Okay, the reading interventionist is basically what it is. There are students that falls between the 15 and 25 percentile, and we're trying to push them to get to 30 or 40 or better. So they're in between if they need special ed services fully, or can they be pushed to be where they can stand on their own and keep elevating and reading. So I'm the middle person. And we have MTSS meeting, which is a multi-tiered system where we try to see if they need more services or should they, maybe the reading intervention is all they'll need to keep them going further and helping them to advance in reading. So, I'll do writing, I'll do, reading, individual, small group settings. Um, and the most I'll have in the students would range between 5 to 8 students in my class. But I also want to tell you good news. I have been promoted during this time. So in February, I started my new position as a special education high school
Nice.
inclusion teacher. Yes. So
Congratulations.
um, thank you. Got my certification. And so now I work with high schoolers instead of middle schoolers. And I push into math and ELA and doing the same, work where I'll have, certain students on my caseload, but I also work with the other students in the classroom. So it doesn't, have those students who needs the assistance feel like we're only just there focused on them because they still want their individuality.
Mm.
So I work with any student in the classroom, but I have my specific one that's on my caseload that I push and work to advance them and let them know that I'm a helping resource in the class as I co-teach with the other teachers that are math or in ELA.
Oh, that's great. It must be, so beneficial and rewarding to work with students who may need some extra help and then see them improve and see them succeed. And I'm sure when they do that, they gain confidence and blossom. That's got to be really rewarding to do this kind of work.
Yes, it really is.
And you kind of just mentioned this. You don't just work with one segment of the student population, and that also goes for your role as you're also on the District 20 constituent school board as well, correct?
Yes.
For those who aren't familiar with, like, what's the difference between a constituent school board and a regular school board? Is there any real difference between those, or what is the kind of
Yes.
work?
Okay, so with the constituent school board, we deal with students who are usually on the behavioral side that come for either truancy or any other behavioral infractions. We also, speak about with the SIC, School Improvement Council, try to see where we can help. So we're more like right to the people within that district. So D20, which is service downtown Charleston area. So those individuals or families that live within that area, we would help them, to basically have a better experience within school. But usually when it's behavioral issues, sometimes we deal with expulsions. But me as an individual, I always try to wean out everything possible. The last resource would be expulsion. We'll see what we can do, to really help and assist the families and the child and make recommendations, and see what the family already has in place. So we help with that. We, like I said, help with the SIC board. Um, and basically what we can do to help these schools and the principals thrive more within what's going on in that specific district. So it's like a subsidiary from the school board where the school board will handle all the districts within Charleston County, but with the constituent board is a smaller board that deals with that specific district.
Ah, okay, gotcha. That makes sense. So
Hmm.
yeah, okay. So dealing with specific students with certain issues,
Right.
and again, kind of going along with the work that you're doing now. Some specialization, but also working with the entire school population, and
Yep.
and that makes sense too. You also, dealing with students who may have behavioral issues or things out of their control that are harming their schooling. Mentoring is also important to you, and you even started your own mentoring group called
Yes.
Black Magic Girls. Can you tell me a little bit
Yes.
about that?
Black Magic Girls, inspired from what I saw while I was being a reading interventionist here at Military Magnet. So it's hubbed and based out of Military Magnet. So I use a lot work with the girls here, and just to empower them, uplift them, let them know that I've been through it. I understand. I'm familiar with at-risk communities, or feeling underserved, underrepresented. I understand. So I just tried to let them know, if I can do it, you can do it. I came from a single parent home. My father was murdered when I was 3 years old. So I give them background history of, yes, I'm going to have many adversities in my life, but we can supersede it by still with a positive, what I can do to grow and to be a better person. So the mentoring program, I mean, we've done things when Kamala Harris came in, and we did the pearls, and every girl within the school for middle and high was able to get either pearl earrings, pearl necklace, or a bracelet to wear in honor of Kamala Harris. I've done like feeding, so around Christmas time or Thanksgiving, I can get a ham or they can get a turkey. I've done Black History Month programs where the school can get the children, and teachers are able to purchase Black History Month T-shirts. We put on performances. So I just try to bring more of that social aspect as well as enliftment and engagement to the school, even during the pandemic. So that's basically what I have done. Also, I've done a teddy bear and pajama drive through D20 through my mentoring program as well. So it's just, how can I meet the community needs and give them that love, capturing the kids' heart, and letting them know that you can be anything that you want to be, and there's someone here that sees and walk your walk, and now you have that connection, and you can say, you know what, hey, Miss Duggins did it, I can do it.
That's incredible. The work you're doing is so awesome. And I'm sure the school district and some of these parents and kids wish all teachers were doing all these things that you're doing. And that's no shade on them, because, we all have our lives, and it's hard to do as much as you were doing. But it's incredible. It's amazing. And again, we still have all their stuff we haven't talked about. And I think
Yes.
it's such a great story. And, I think obviously any adult who is giving attention to a child in this fashion and mentoring and helping them is great. And anybody can do it regardless of their background. But I'm sure, having you gone through some of these tragedies that you mentioned, that maybe they have gone through, it might mean a little bit more if they're like, oh, it's not just an adult telling me it'll get better or you can get through it. Like, this person has actually gotten through it. So they're telling me their own story. I'm sure that's got to help, with helping out some of these students as far as them being able to connect with you on that level as well.
Yes, and and I see the work. I see the changes. I'm big on representation matters,
Mm.
so that it's not like you said, someone just preaching to them
Mm-hmm.
about something that they've never ever experienced. No, I can give them facts, and I can tell them, like, listen, this is what it is. I've come up in a similar neighborhood as you all. I didn't have a silver spoon. I didn't have, things made out of silver and gold. I had to earn everything. I had to see my mom, as a nanny, work three jobs, and my oldest siblings would keep an eye on me because I'm the youngest of six. So I know how it feels, but I've always persevered, or found a way to take a tragedy and make it into rainbows.
Mm.
So
That's
that's kind
incredible.
of what I want to show them, that you can take a little, it's kind of like that saying where rose grows from concrete.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of image I want them to see. Yeah, it's going to be hard, but something beautiful can come out of that storm.
That's awesome. And it sounds like, just based on that quick little anecdote you said about your mom where she was working three jobs, it sounds like you got your hard work from her, perhaps.
Yes, that ethics, definitely. My mom has always been a strong pillar and a strong woman in my life. I've seen her struggles, and I've seen her supersede and just come out being, a liberated woman. And I thank her for that, to be that person in my life, and making me to be able to continue on with her trilogy, about what she's done and seen from her mom. So, it's what I'm just inspired to do. I've had a strong woman in my life that makes me want to be strong.
Yeah, it makes sense that you witnessed that, you saw the impact, and obviously the impact it had on you, and now you can do the same. So it's just you're just following that tradition almost that your mother started, which is pretty incredible. So when you're doing this work in the community, you're probably thinking about her and the things she did for you, I would imagine.
Yes, most definitely.
And so we've been talking mostly about your work with children, whether high school or younger, and you also are the founder of Charleston Black Pride, which is an LGBTQI plus organization for people of color. Obviously,
Yes.
high school kids and younger could benefit from this organization, but this also includes, of course, adults as well.
Right.
What motivated you to start Charleston Black? Excuse me, let's try that again.
It's okay.
What motivated you to start Charleston Black Pride?
Well, I am a member of the community. I am a lesbian woman, openly lesbian woman. And I felt that, again, representation matters. Even though there were other Pride or LGBTQ organizations here in Charleston, I just felt that sometimes that leadership and that representative needs to be present.
Mm.
And that's what I wanted from when we started Charleston Black Pride, to make sure there was representation, making sure that there is a platform or there are supports in place where people who look like me, who walk the same walk, who want to live freely, can have a hub or someone that's going to advocate for them and they not feel that they're alone. This is not you have to have a tough skin in order to stand in this world, especially with all the laws coming against LGBTQ,
Yes.
things that goes on with the trans community. I just wanted to make sure I was the voice of the voiceless people. And I think from everything that I do, from zero to adults, is what I encompass that. I want to make sure that no rock is being overturned. So if LGBTQ is all a representation of who I am. So, and which makes it easy for me to do. It doesn't seem like I'm doing a lot of work, even though people see my resume and they're like, wow, this is so impressive. I'm like, no, this is easy for me because I'm walking in my truth.
Mm.
I'm doing the things that I would do on my everyday life, but I'm helping a bigger realm, a bigger, large pool of people who I know needs that voice, who I know needs that support, who I know needs that advocate, who I know needs that outreach. And so that's what Charleston Black Pride is providing. And thankfully, 3 years we have been in the community. We started during the pandemic, and we've done from food drives to outreach with PPEs and having our annual Black Pride weekend. We've worked with local drag kings and queens. We work with a lot of community organizations with Palmetto CARE, MUSC, HIV/AIDS awareness. Anywhere we work with AFA, the Alliance for Full Acceptance.
Mm.
When we had trans women murdered here in Charleston, we've been on the forefront, voicing how we feel. Supporting those with We Are Family, which is the younger LGBTQ organization, just partnering with, neighboring African Americans who are our allies, letting their businesses be uplifted because we eat, we go to the doctor, we live, and we, just be a part of the community. And some people may not even realize it, but the LGBTQ wants to know that with Charleston Black Pride that we are here and we want to be recognized and we want to be accepted and loved. So that's what Charleston Black Pride does, provide that umbrella to let them know you have a family that you can come to.
That's great. And, we were talking about representation and how much that matters because, I'm sure people who heard this are like, oh, why was there a Charleston Black Pride? We already have Charleston Pride. But a lot of people don't realize just because, there's a group like that doesn't mean that it's still not a very white dominated space, and not that they're not doing great work. Like, you
Right.
weren't talking down on them, but you were just saying, hey,
No.
it'd be great if we had more inclusion of as many different types of people that fall under this category as possible. So, yeah, I think that, still tons of work to do, obviously, on
Yes.
all these
Yeah.
fronts with representation. But I think, and I hope, as someone who follows Charleston and Charleston culture, that things are slowly, but they're getting better with representation
Yes.
and things. But until then, it's important to support organizations like yours who may seem like they're doing similar work to an organization that's already out there, but in reality, they're doing similar work, but for a group that may be maybe underrepresented in that bigger
Right.
group. So certainly, makes sense why you're doing these things. And listening to it when you said like, oh, I'd be doing this anyway, it's not that much work. It also sounds like obviously when you're passionate about something, it doesn't always seem like
Yes.
work either.
Right, it doesn't, and it's a love, So it's kind of like, okay, I would normally go to the movies. Now I'm asking 20 people to come. If we do a restaurant outing, I'm asking 20 more people to come that share in the like-mindedness of myself. And so it's just in any other ways, if we need a special guest to come in and talk about different issues and topics, if they just need a support group, we want to make sure that we are representing those that are in the community that may feel like I didn't know where I could turn to. I didn't know who I can talk to that look like me, that knows what I go through, and now they do have that space. And that's all my organization, for with girls, and it's open to black, white, Hispanic, any girl, but we want to just make sure that they know that there is someone that looks like you, that's been through similar things as you. Now you can come and feel confident and feel like, okay, I have a support, I have a team, I have people who will help me and I don't have to feel out of place. And that's all that any of the work that I do within the community field is, just to make sure that when someone comes, they see a familiar face at the table that they can relate to. Sometimes people feel intimidated. You don't know why, they don't want to participate or they don't want to speak out on certain issues, and now they're like, wow, now I can be myself. I have someone that's related. I can, say what I have to say and they won't take offense to it, or they understand what I'm trying to say, so that's all that I want to be for the Charleston community.
And in quote unquote regular times when things are going well, it's always great to have a sense of community. But when you're in a group that, you kind of feel like maybe you're being left out, it becomes even more important. And as you alluded to before, with this onslaught of legislation throughout the country of anti-trans and anti-LGBTQI plus, just all over, it must, especially for children, it must be really, really difficult to see these things, being pushed across the country, and probably makes them feel even worse as far as I don't feel like I belong. Like they're making rules and laws against the kind of person I am, who I am as a person. So that sense of community must be even more important right now, considering that's going on.
Yeah, it's a lot of vulnerability, and people, when they are making laws, they don't tend to think about the human nature of what the law or who the law is going to affect. And that's where I feel the advocates come in place and say, excuse me, okay, you're looking at the black and white of the paper of it, but the humans that deal with this every day, you haven't brought them to the table. Their voices are not being heard. You're not living their life. You don't know what, they endure. So let's make it more personable before we start to say, oh, put a ban on this, or no, this is not going to happen, because you don't know what someone is going through and feeling every day. If it's not something that you're familiar with or you don't walk in that life. So I feel like, we need to make sure we build more supports in place and make sure there's safety measures for those to be protected that are in communities or that's underrepresented, that doesn't feel that they have the support, that are vulnerable.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we keep hitting on those same, voice to the voiceless is important to you, and representation. And a lot of these rules and laws and proposed legislation, like you said, if there was better representation, this less likely these things would even gotten as far as they are. If more people are aware of the groups that they're making laws against, if they speak to these people on a human level, representation prevents a lot of this stuff from happening, because like you said, if they don't know these folks personally, they might not realize what they're doing. And that just another reason, that I'll keep hammering it home with you, but that representation for groups that are typically voiceless or close enough to it is so important. And it's great that you're doing the work to try to improve that in this area specifically.
Thank you.
And another way you're doing that is to let people know that there's someone out there like me going through something like me. You're a self-published author and poet. And
Yes.
you've performed at festivals and events around the area as well. What drove you with all these other projects you got going on? What was important to you about writing, whether it's poetry or other works, and getting it out there?
When I was in middle school, my English teacher had access to write a poem, and she just loved the way I was very descriptive. And she told me, keep reading more poets, Maya Angelou, and I said, okay. And then, she was like Nikki Giovanni. She just kept giving me Audre Lorde. She kept giving me writers and poets. And she was like, do you feel, and how do you feel when you read this? I said, I feel empowered. So she said to me, okay, well, then this may be your outlet. So as I was writing and sharing stories, I noticed that she was like really proud of my writing. And she kept saying, maybe this is what you should do. So it just continued. My background would have been, if it wasn't in early childhood teaching, it would have been in English. I've taken a lot of English courses when I was in high school. When I went to college, undergrad, I took a lot of literature courses. Bible is lit. I even took a rape course. I mean, I just wanted to be aware and conscious about literature and about poetry. So the poetry became an outlet for me to release some pent up emotions like therapy. And that's what really pushed my writing. And so my first book, Black Magic, was starting to talk about, loss of a brother, loss of my dad, relationships. So I kind of did a broad um, book with Black Magic. But the next book, Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, took on the activist side, where I was speaking up about feminist issues, speaking on the conundrums that's, going on in Black women's lives. I've always felt that a Black woman who is LGBTQ, we're discriminated three times: one because we're Black, one because we're a woman, and because we're part of the LGBTQ.
Mm.
So I've always spoke on those issues. Being a mother, even though I haven't birthed my own biological children, I raised five of my nieces and nephews, and I still feel that yes, I am a mother. And I speak on that, having a strong mother. And then I speak about Black and white or Caucasian issues where we both need to rectify some things so that we can grow in society. So I don't just, speak on one topic where it's just pulling out the ills of African Americans or pulling out the ills of Caucasian people. I talk about what we all can do and what we all need to do to grow. So that's in that book. And then during the pandemic, we had some free time, which
Yeah.
sounds like I don't, but
But yeah, you
I
found
w-
some somehow.
and I was able to write New York Styles, What Time Is It, which is more going in depth of why I started my dance group, how basically the kids that I thought I was teaching dance to, I thought I was saving them, and they wind up saving me. And so that book breaks down the rape traumas that I've had, how, I worked with other individuals within the dance group, how they inspired me, just, what we did, how we went, performing at the world famous Apollo Theater, just so many different accolades that I've gained during that time. Important people that was, throughout my life. So I add that all in the book as well as some pictures. And I've have some stories highlighted from some of my dancers. They're older adults now that, wrote in and shared, and I added them in the book as well. So I just wanted to give people a more understanding of my city life and who I am and how I basically became me, in my younger years. And I enjoyed writing that. It came and flowed so freely. It just was time for me to tell my story, um, and to hopefully empower and uplift. Anything that I do is to help someone else. It's not just for me, but it's therapeutic for me. But I want to make sure that others know you're not the only one and you're not alone, but you can persevere too.
It's such a great message, and it seems like you're doing an awesome job of doing it. And my hat's off to you for the hard work, and not just hard work, but you're doing hard work for other people, which is rare, unfortunately, in these days. And I know I wish I could do a better job at it. And your story is incredible. If anybody wants details on any of these things, I know we've talked about so much, but feel free, run down every link, every contact, whatever organization it may be, or just you, how people can find more information.
Okay, thank you. Yes, charlestonblackpride.org. You can find on our webpage, Regina underscore Duggins. It's on Facebook, Instagram, Regina Duggins 75. You can email me at Regina Duggins 77 at gmail.com. You can go on Amazon. You can Google. I'm just trying to just think of other ways if people want to know, or even to look on YouTube. I have some speak outs that I've done. I've even was privileged to speak at the Women's March that was held in Charleston in 2019, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's videotaped. I did a video as well for one of my poems called Hands Up, and it was talking about police brutality and just growing up in, a Black community and just wanting to end and stop violence. So there's just different ways. I've done a speak out with Marcus Amaker at the Gilliard, so that can be found on YouTube. Yeah, I'm just thinking of different ways that
I know
people
there's so
can
many.
hear me. If you go to the archives for the LGBTQ at the Addison Library, I've put artifacts and did an interview as well. So that can be there for years and years to come if anyone is looking for people who did work in the LGBTQ community of Charleston. I'm just trying to make sure that in 15, 20, 30 years from now, people can look back and say, Charleston had a representative who stood for the people, whether they were Black, women, LGBTQ, people of color, or even a Caucasian, because my allies are very, very strong in all walks of life, but just someone that was really for the people and making sure that everyone's from zero to adults voice was heard.
From all accounts that I've just heard, it sounds like you are well on your way to that well-deserved reputation. And I thank you for the work you're doing in this community. It's awesome. You're making Charleston and the Charleston area better by the work that you're doing. I appreciate it, and I know a lot of people listening are going to be blown away and appreciate it as well. And I'll include those links in the show notes so people can follow and support and buy the books and all the things that they may be interested in after hearing this. And again, thank you so much for sharing your story with me. It was so great, so motivating and inspirational, and it was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I appreciate you having me on as a guest. And like I said, I just thank you for having this platform so that others can, keep pushing forward and doing whatever it is that they choose to better themselves in life.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much, and it's been great. Thank you. What I tell you, what an incredible story, just amazing work that she is doing in this community, which is incredible. I mean, if she was just doing one of those things, we've had people on this show that, are working with one nonprofit or doing one awesome thing, and that's fine. That's great. That's amazing. But she is doing several and continues to, and it blew my mind. And I knew that this would be a fun interview, going into it and inspiring, but I didn't realize how much so, until actually hearing Regina talk. So big thank you to her for coming on. And I'm sure you all enjoyed the interview and are probably inspired by her as well. So please go support her and her organizations to show that you appreciate what she's doing in this community. And with that, we're going to sign off, but thank you to everyone for listening again this week. Thank you to my producer, Lindsay Marie Collins of LMC Sound System and FMB Radio, a podcast you should all listen to. Thank you to Tyler Boone, whose music you hear throughout the episode. Speaking of, he has a new single out that you can find on Spotify and everywhere else. So be sure to go check that out. It actually features the keyboardist from Lynyrd Skynyrd, believe it or not. Pretty good job by Tyler Boone to pull that off. So yeah, go check it out. New single out on, again, Spotify, Apple Music, all that good stuff. And that is it for this week. Hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I did. And as always, good night and good luck.